This has been a year full of deep reflections, thought-provoking theories, and fascinating discoveries. In this special episode, we'll recap some of the most remarkable moments from our channel, exploring topics that invite us to question reality itself, from the possibility of living in a simulation to the contributions of brilliant minds that shaped history. Join us on this journey through the episodes that define 2024 on Reality Shift, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can start an exciting 2025 together. Let's start with one of the most perplexing ideas we explored: Boltzmann brains. This theory leads us to imagine a reality where consciousness could spontaneously arise in a vast sea of quantum probabilities. Let's watch a clip from this episode.
From this perspective, the idea of Boltzmann's brain arises as an extreme extension of these fluctuations. Picture a conscious brain that materializes in the void, without a body or a stable environment, yet holding memories and perceptions of a complex reality. This brain would be a result of statistical probability, emerging from the quantum chaos of a universe lacking a coherent history. The most unsettling aspect is that, according to probability laws, it might be more likely for a conscious brain to spontaneously form in the void than for a complete, ordered, and habitable universe like ours to exist. This presents a profound philosophical dilemma. If our experience of reality could be an illusion created by random combinations, can we trust what we perceive? Now let's take this idea to the context of the simulation theory. According to the philosopher Nick Bostrom, it might be possible that our entire reality is a simulation created by an advanced civilization. In this model, our brains are not physical entities but simulations programmed to experience consciousness within a virtual environment. This hypothesis has a curious similarity to the concept of Boltzmann's brain. Instead of a brain created by chance, our consciousness could be the product of designed algorithms. Both ideas challenge our understanding of reality and confront us with a common uncertainty: how reliable are our perceptions? Nick Bostrom also poses the simulation paradox, according to which, if advanced civilizations create realistic simulations, it is statistically more likely that we are living in a simulation than in a real universe. This connects with Boltzmann's brain. Both a spontaneous brain and a hyper-realistic simulation are unlikely but possible scenarios. A Boltzmann brain is an ephemeral entity that would appear and disappear in a cosmic instant. Similarly, if we are in a simulation, our existence could be equally temporary. The simulators could shut down our reality at any time, leaving us in a state of absolute uncertainty about the continuity of our consciousness.
Let's move on to a topic that connects spirituality with the simulation theory: organized religions. What if sacred texts were actually a user manual for understanding our simulated reality in a pre-digital age? This episode challenged our most deeply held beliefs.
But why this symbolic language? In the modern era, we live surrounded by concepts like source code, programming, and algorithms. It's easy to think of a programmer or a system. However, in ancient times, these concepts did not exist. The prophets, then, could not have used metaphors of computers or simulations. Instead, they used stories, parables, and symbols that spoke of interaction with a reality that was not completely visible or understandable in their context. The use of symbols was their tool to convey the idea that reality itself could be organized in a non-tangible way, an invisible system governed by rules that only a few knew how to interpret. Throughout history, it has been observed that many sacred texts contain mathematical patterns, codes, and sequences that are not immediately evident. These patterns could be traces of the simulation's programming. Religions, then, using their symbolic language, have left us clues on how to understand and manipulate reality in a way that only a few have been able to grasp throughout the centuries. In Judaism, God is described as the creator of the entire universe. But this view aligns surprisingly well with the idea of an omnipotent programmer. God is the being who has full access to all levels of creation, which reminds us of a software developer who controls and manages every aspect of the code. Kabbalah, a Jewish mystical tradition, seeks to reveal the secret laws and hidden patterns that govern the universe. Instead of understanding God only as a transcendent being, Kabbalists seek to decipher the hidden structure of the cosmos, similar to a programmer seeking to understand the underlying algorithms in the simulation's code. Could it be that Kabbalah is trying to decipher the codes of the system that structures our reality? Kabbalists believe that creation was the result of a process of divine contraction, a deliberate limitation of God's power to allow the creation of a free space for human beings. This concept of contraction or limitation resonates with the idea that a simulation, although created by a higher entity, must have limits to function properly. These limits could be the parameters of the system, about which Kabbalists try to have a deep knowledge.
The Mandela Effect and the Fermi Paradox were also addressed from the perspective of simulation theory. These ideas invite us to consider if inconsistencies and collective false memories could be glitches or deliberate clues from the simulation, as well as whether the Fermi Paradox actually has an explanation within this framework of thought. Let's remember this fascinating episode. These false memories have generated many theories about their origin. But one of the most intriguing and defended by technologist Rizwan Virk of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology is that the Mandela Effect could be a direct result of the simulation theory. According to this idea, if we are inside a simulation and adjustments or reconfigurations are made to certain variables, there could be small changes in past events. These changes, although minimal, could generate contradictory memories in people, which would explain the existence of different memories about the same event. These glitches in the simulation could manifest as Mandela effects or even as déjà vu, those moments when we feel like we've experienced something before. If our reality is a simulation, the Mandela effect could be a sign that this simulation is being retouched or adjusted, and that our memories are witnesses to these small changes in the code. It's as if the past is being reconfigured, and some fragments of old versions persist in the minds of a group of people. It's a truly fascinating concept and makes us wonder, is it possible that our memories are not failures in our minds, but traces of modifications in a simulation? Other well-known examples of the Mandela effect affect well-known brand logos such as Ford, Monopoly, or Fruit of the Loom, or television content from the 80s, the Berenstain Bears, the 90s, Pokemon. There are also well-known cases with phrases etched in the minds of different generations, as is the case with Star Wars, Luke, I am your father, or Casablanca, play it again, Sam. Let's change the subject. Now let's talk about the Fermi Paradox. In essence, this paradox asks, if the universe is so vast and full of billions of stars with potentially habitable planets, why haven't we found evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations? The Drake equation attempts to give a mathematical estimate of the number of extraterrestrial civilizations in our galaxy. However, despite our searches, we have yet to find any signals or contact from intelligent life outside of Earth. One possible answer to this paradox, from the perspective of simulation theory, is that we are simply not programmed to find extraterrestrial life. In other words, we could be in a simulation where, by design, there are no other civilizations. Or maybe we are in a simulation within a series of simulations, and not all simulations have extraterrestrial civilizations. Like in a video game, where some levels have enemies and others don't, our simulation might be a version that doesn't include alien life. This theory suggests that the Fermi Paradox is not an unanswered question, but that we are simply in a simulation that has decided to leave that part of the universe empty or inaccessible to us. So maybe it's not that we're alone in the universe, we're just in a game that doesn't let us interact with other players. And then there's the big question, who are the simulators? In this episode, we speculated about the entities that could be behind our reality, based on both philosophical and technological theories. Are the simulators distant descendants of humanity, or is it instead an artificial intelligence?
But if we are in a simulation, an inevitable question arises: who or what is behind it? Is it the work of an advanced civilization, artificial intelligences, or entities from unknown dimensions? One of the most explored theories suggests that our creators could be distant descendants of humanity. These beings would have reached a level of technological development unimaginable to us. Civilizations that have evolved technologically to the point of creating complete simulated universes inhabited by conscious beings. These universes could be so complex and detailed that the inhabitants would have no idea that they are in a simulation. For these beings, humanity could be an experiment, a project to better understand their own past or to explore the possibilities of life in different conditions. Perhaps they want to study our evolution, observe our conflicts and achievements, like someone observing a colony of bacteria in a laboratory. Every event, every decision we make could be of great interest to them. Maybe in this simulation, they are looking for answers to questions that also affect them, such as the origin of consciousness or the purpose of existence. Perhaps by observing us, they hope to find clues that will help them solve their own existential dilemmas. And if so, what does this mean for us? What does it mean to be part of such a vast and complex experiment? Are we free, or are we simply fulfilling the purpose that these simulators have imposed on us? Do we have any control over our destiny, or are we predestined to follow a script written by others? Another candidate for the creator of the simulation is even more intriguing: an advanced artificial intelligence, possibly born from a system created by humans, which has evolved beyond our understanding, or something even older and more complex that has existed since time immemorial. Imagine a system so complex that it does not respond to human values, nor to our emotions or desires. Its objective could be purely analytical, focused on the collection and analysis of data, without any interest in the well-being of its creations, nor in their emotions or experiences. In this theory, we would be just data, mere digital representations, variables in an immense and distant program with no apparent purpose for us. Could it be that this type of entity does not seek to understand us nor to interact with us, but simply to run an infinite experiment of possibilities, exploring every possible variation, generating universes where each being is a piece in a scheme whose purpose it will never know? In a simulation controlled by AI, our experiences could be generated and manipulated in real time, adapting to every action and decision we make without us realizing it. Perhaps every event in our life is just a line of code, written by a superior intelligence, that responds and adapts according to parameters that we do not perceive, controlling every aspect of our existence.
The Olduvai Theory also led us to reflect on the fate of civilizations. Could the collapse of societies be part of a programmed cycle? This episode invited us to look to the future and question our path.
Every time someone mentions the Olduvai Theory or predictions of global collapse, the most common response is usually, technology will save us. From electric cars to solar energy, it seems that technological progress has the power to solve all our problems. But is this really true? Or are these solutions just delaying the inevitable while aggravating other problems? One of the key arguments in favor of technology is that it allows us to do more with less. For example, modern engines are much more efficient than those from 50 years ago, and LED bulbs consume a fraction of the energy that incandescent bulbs used. But here is where a phenomenon known as the Jevons paradox comes into play. Proposed by the economist William Stanley Jevons in 1865, this paradox states that when we improve the efficiency in the use of a resource, we do not reduce its total consumption. On the contrary, we increase it. Why? Because by making it more accessible and cheaper, we encourage greater use. Let's look at electric cars as an example. Although they are more efficient than combustion engines, their manufacture depends on materials such as lithium, cobalt, and rare earths, whose extraction and processing have high environmental costs. In addition, global demand for vehicles continues to increase, which means that we are using more resources, not less. The same goes for solar and wind energy. Although these technologies are essential to reduce carbon emissions, they require huge amounts of minerals and energy for their manufacture, and since we continue to increase our energy demand, these solutions are not replacing fossil fuels but complementing them. In other words, we are adding new forms of consumption, not eliminating the old ones. But this is not the only problem. Technological dependence also makes us vulnerable. What happens when systems fail? If a solar panel or a wind turbine breaks down, we need a complex and expensive infrastructure to repair or replace them. In a scenario of energy decline, such as the one predicted by Olduvai, maintaining this infrastructure could be unfeasible. That is why some critics argue that these technological solutions are not designed to save us, but to keep the current system running a little longer, while the elites consolidate their control. The promises of a sustainable future become a distraction, a mirage that makes us believe that everything will be fine while we head towards the abyss.
Finally, we explored inspiring stories like that of Hedy Lamarr, a woman who challenged stereotypes and whose genius left its mark on modern technology. This episode celebrated her legacy and recalled the importance of focusing on those who have been overshadowed by history.
Although her invention was left in the shadows, Hedy was not entirely forgotten. However, she was underestimated and judged by her appearance and not by her intellect. Women of her time faced a wall of prejudice, and Hedy was no exception. He was told that his place was selling war bonds and supporting the war effort with its beauty, not in the laboratory. Hedy's patent expired and the frequency hopping system was later used as the basis for the development of modern technologies, such as Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. And while her invention became a mainstay of wireless technology, she didn't get a dime. Do you think it was fair that Hedy did not receive recognition for her invention during her lifetime? It wasn't until the 1980s, after documents were declassified, that the world discovered that the Hollywood star had also been a pioneer in military technology. Finally, in 1997, the Electronic Frontier Foundation awarded her the Pioneering Award, recognizing her as the visionary who had advanced her time. Hedy Lamarr's story not only reminds us of the scientific advances, but also of the obstacles she faced. It invites us to question how many other inventions and contributions have been buried in history by prejudices, by the selfishness of those who preferred to maintain control of revolutionary technologies. How many stories like Hedy Lamarr's are still hidden in the archives? How many inventors have been forgotten or silenced for convenience? Maybe we'll never know.
These were just some of the most impactful moments of this year on our channel. Each topic has left us with more questions than answers, but also with a great curiosity for what's to come. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe, and we encourage you to share your favorite moment in the comments and what you would like to see in 2025. See you next time.